Good morning. We have a quorum and we've reached the appointed hour. So let us start. Agenda item number 1, information papers issued since last meeting. 5 of them, right? 5 of them. And they have been sent to members. So do you have any questions? If not, then we move on to agenda item number 2, date of next meeting and items for discussion. There is a list of outstanding items for discussion, and also members raise several issues, and let us deal with them first. First, date of next meeting, 15th of April, 8:30 a.m. in the same venue. Is there any question? If not, then the administration has proposed 2 items. Number 1, relocation. 2 items: relocation Shanghai Street Refuse Collection Point and Street Sleepers Shelter. And Yaomate Theatre Phase 2 development is a public works proposal. The other one is alignment fees and charges of municipal facilities and services under the policy purview of the Secretary for Home Affairs. And there is a related legislative proposal. So there are 2 items proposed by the administration. If members have no queries, then we will discuss them. Yes, Chairman. I don't have any problem with that, but I still want to raise one point. You have a letter. Yes, I'm going to deal with that. And several members have raised issues, including the issue of cricket ground and other playgrounds and sports grounds, raised by Mr. Kenneth Chen, and Ms. Claudia Mo has raised an issue on the ADC award, Literary Criticism Award, and Mr. Fung-kwok mentioned the use of small motorized vehicles by LCSD staff in the parks. I've talked to Mr. Kenneth Chen concerning the provision of cricket grounds for the ethnic minorities in particular. We will ask the administration to give us an explanation in writing, and afterwards we may arrange for a meeting. I think it is not just my own concern. In different districts, you may have already heard about this demand. We would like to see the reply of the administration. I hope we can liaise with the LCSD and related departments, and we'll talk to them. And then then I'll inform members so that members may also be involved in the discussion. Okay. Concerning Ms. Claudia Mo's proposal on discussing the ADC critics price, in fact, an explanation given by the ADC on the award has been attached in the reply by the HAB. Thank you, Chairman. The administration has given some explanation and some description, but it has not addressed the worries of the people. Say, for example, Mr. Lam has made certain comments, and in fact there is a confusion in the points that has been made. Now the LegCo has invoked the LegCo Power and Privileges Ordinance because to investigate into the CY Leung affairs involvement in the HK's WCD. I'm not asking for invoking that power. I just hope that the chairman of the ADC and also Mr. Perry Lam, the chairman of that panel, to explain the personal relationship between the adjudicators and the participants. Now, this is, we are here to consider and vet government policy. I think your point is very clear. I still have one more point to make. There are people from the cultural sector, including Mr. Zhong Zhouhong, who said specifically that there is a 7-point similarity between the winning entry and the style of the chairman of the adjudication panel. So it is really about the use of public money. And the Hong Kong Economic Journal on the 8th of March had a commentary on that and said that it was a serious matter, and the LegCo was urged to follow the matter up, and I hope that at the next meeting an ADC representative can come along and give us an explanation personally. Is it working? I've heard Ms. Mo's point. I think the first thing is to clarify the role of and function of the panel, and we are to monitor government policy. Now, according to Ms. Mo's letter, now it is a very specific case, and there is an allegation that there is conflict of interest. And having heard Ms. Mo's explanation, there is also the issue of adjudication. And should the LegCo interfere with the operation of the normal operation of a statutory body? I don't think that is what the LegCo should do. We should respect the autonomy of the relevant bodies. Now, if she wants to put it up for discussion in this panel, I think it's outside the remit of this panel because it's about policy. Mr. Kenneth Chan's proposal is on the policy of provision of sports venue for different ethnic groups. I don't agree with Ms. Mo's proposal. Well, let us consider how we deal with that and whether we are going to deal with that. Two more want to speak. Mr. Ho. We've heard Ms. Mo's point. It's a rather specific case, and I agree with Mr. Fung-kwok. If we discuss the case, it seriously interfere with the freedom, academic freedom. We are to support literary groups, and in the future, people will be worried about the interference by the LegCo, and it will suppress creative freedom. So I oppose the proposal. Mr. Chung, I have to declare interest. I'm the chairman of one subcommittee of the ADC. The ADC is an independent body, and it has been in operation for a decade or so. It has an established adjudication system. There are some artist awards. Some people win, somebody lose. Those who have lost in the competition, of course, will feel unhappy. Chairman, when you were the chairman of the ADC, you handled the case before, you have to answer the case before the court. Now, if we look at the internal problem of a small internal problem of the statutory body, then it will have implication, or does it not have the implication that If there is any problem with an NGO or a welfare organization, then we'll have to interfere with that. That is very dangerous. I think Ms. Mo's argument is very scary. A person's literary style can become an excuse for vetting. Isn't it white terror? Is really very dangerous and serious. If you don't like it, then you want to judge it. Shouldn't we be more broad-minded? Shouldn't we uphold the core value of accepting different ideas and different views? And if it is against our view, then we want to suppress it. Is it not the policy of the Civic Party? Chairman, you shouldn't have raised it for our discussion. That's your duty. Well, we are here to decide how we deal with Ms. Mo's demand or proposal. We are not to conduct a debate on the content of the matter. So it is just about how to handle this. Mr. Chen Chi-chin. Now, whether we deal with that or not is one issue. But does it mean that this case is not problematic and is useless to raise any doubt about the case? I agree that we should deal with policy. But in a case, it may involve a serious problem, and the community has been criticizing that very widely. Shouldn't we therefore look at the policy issue arising from the case and whether public money has been misspent? Shouldn't we discuss that? That's the most important thing. If according to the argument, then we shouldn't look into anything, because if we do anything, that is interfering with academic freedom or creative freedom. Well, I think you've given your view. Ms. Mo, you asked to speak again, but I believe you just insist on your point. Is there anything to add? They have misunderstood me. I don't know whether they have read that article and whether they can read. Now, if the style that I don't like, then I want to criticize it. It's not my style. I'm just saying that people say that there are 7 similarities between the article or style of the chairman of the adjudication panel and the award winner. Well, please put it to the vote. We don't need to debate over that. Ms. Ho, are you on dealing with the matter? Chairman, I oppose putting the matter to the vote as to whether we should discuss the matter. In a legislative body, we don't need a matter to be discussed. Only more than half of the people agree. I think as far as funding is concerned, you need to have a majority. I think each member should be given the right to raise an issue. That's why we have a quorum of 1/3. If the chairman agrees to discuss the matter and if 1/3 of the members come along, then we can have a meeting. If you don't want to come, if you don't want to discuss the matter, you don't come, then the meeting is aborted. Now, there is a proposal to vote on the matter, and we have already got an agenda for today. So let us put the matter to the vote, though some member feels a member feels that may not be the appropriate way to deal with that.
Let's go ahead with the voting. And the voting is on whether we should be following up on this case in our meetings later, for and against. Supporting the item be put into the agenda for meeting. Those who support it, please raise your hands. For, those objecting, please raise your hands. 8 against. Any abstention? Well, the chairman is abstaining. All right. So we'll decide that we will not discuss that in our future meetings. Another item is on the use of motor vehicles in parks by LCSC staff. The paper has been circulated to members. Does Mr. Wong have anything to add? Well, this is something of public concern. Now, through the Secretariat, we would forward the matter to the administration and ask them for an explanation and see whether any follow-up action needs to be undertaken. So, all right. Let's move on to the agenda proper. Agenda item 3, the development of public library services. May I now invite the administration team in? Mr. Christopher Zhong, you have something to say? Oh, okay. You are just raising your hand to queue up to speak. All right. So please ask the administration team to come in, please. Attending the agenda item to discuss are Ms. Florence Hu, Undersecretary for Home Affairs, Mrs. Betty Fung, Director of Leisure and Cultural Services, Assistant Director of Leisure and Cultural Services, Libraries and Development, Mr. Lee Yok Man, well, perhaps I'll wait till they come in before I make the introduction on them. Apart from those that I mentioned, others attending this meeting is Chairman of Public Libraries Advisory Committee, Professor John Lau. It seems that he has not come in yet. And also, Vice Chairman Mr. Chang Chi-kwong. And who else is here already? Well, perhaps I'll wait for all of them to arrive before I introduce them. Perhaps I would now invite Ms. Florence Ho to take us through the paper. Thank you, Chairman. Members, we are lining up with LCSD colleagues and the PLAC members to take you through the latest development of public libraries. At the meeting of the 14th of June 2012, 2010, members exchanged views with the PLAC on issues pertaining to public libraries. And I'm very happy that the Chairman and Vice Chairman, 3 members of PLAC are here to discuss the issue together with the electrical members today. I believe that members have read the paper, so I'll just highlight a few salient points. The HKBPL devotes efforts to providing comprehensive library services and strengthening its facilities and collections. The Tinshui Wai Public Library started operating last month to replace the existing library, and 2 other new libraries, Lam Tin and Pak Tin, will start operating later this year, and we would also be using major libraries, district libraries, to provide district library services, and where appropriate, we will also be establishing small libraries and community libraries across different districts undertaking renovation works of libraries, and we would also be launching new IT infrastructure, and we will also renovate or upgrade the MMIS and also study the feasibility of our RFID application in library services. Now, as for the book drop service at 3 MTR stations in Central Kowloon and Namchang, we have completed a review recently, and the review results show that the majority of people generally support the service, but in effect, a small portion of library service users are using those services to return library items. Most of them choose to visit the libraries in person to return and borrow books. Because the service involves high costs, so we suggest that the Dropbox services be maintained only at the 3 existing MTR stations until further arrangements are available. Now, as for the positioning of public libraries, Hong Kong Central Library is the flagship of Hong Kong libraries, and it will continue to provide various services and to serve as a territory-wide institution for learning, knowledge, archive preservation, and cultural exchange. HK Hong Kong Public Libraries will also continue to strengthen ties with its mainland overseas counterparts and aims to upgrade our services to meet with the changing needs of the society. So much for my presentation, and we're happy to take questions and listen to members' views. Thank you. So I would also like to introduce that Professor Zhang Leung, Chairman, is here, and also Dr. Chen Kin-wai, member, Mr. Dennis Tin Ding Sin, member of the PLAC, and Dr. John Fong, and also Ms. Wang Yuhua, PAS for Home Affairs. Okay, Mr. Christopher Chung, Wong-Kwok Heng, Vice Chairman, myself, Mr. Tony Che, and Mr. Yu Si-wing, and Mr. Yip Kin-yun, Ms. Sit Ho, have raised their hands to indicate their wish to speak. So in that case, including Q&A, 5 minutes each, please. The first one, Mr. Christopher Chung. Thank you, Chairman. I was once the Vice Chairman of the Library Subcommittee of the Urban Council. Now, after the Urban Council was disbanded, the library service have not progressed at all. There hasn't been much improvement, and what we're doing now is just a continuation of what the UPCO has decided upon. Now, as for needs of public libraries, the government has not taken on board the population changes to provide services. If you don't believe me, after our meeting, you can go down to the Siu Sai Wan Library. There is a new library. It's been filled up to its capacity because a lot of people have retired, including particularly the males, and they have flocked to the libraries. And actually, those who have retired these days are of a higher educational level, and they would like to visit libraries. That is not the case in the past. In the past, people just went to parks to kill time. But then now they are going to libraries and searching on the internet and so on. So there was this indicator drawn up by the UPCO that there should be a library for 200,000 people. What I mean is district library, but that's the indicator has become outdated. We have suggested that there should be a library for every 100,000 people. Now, also on the life pattern, people work till late hours. They may get off work at around 7 p.m. And then if the library closes at 8 p.m., then that's not meeting with the needs of people. So I think the service hours should be extended to at least 9 p.m. Even if they go to the library without a meal, then I don't think 9 p.m. is not is not unreasonable. Now, as for the promotion of literary work in Hong Kong, I don't think you have come up with any new initiatives in that regard. You're just carrying on with whatever has been done in the past. Now, a lot of young people resort to mobile applications and so on, and I don't see how the library or whether the library has done anything to help people promote the language skills, particularly the spoken language. And actually, a lot of the members here are not very good at writing the correct Chinese words and speak with the right pronunciation. I don't want other people like us here. So I want the library to do more on that regard. Yes, response from the administration. Thank you, Mr. Chung, for your comment about planning, timing, and literature promotion. Now, as for planning, we provide for new libraries under the Hong Kong Planning Standards and Guidelines. Now, on top of that, we are also taking on board several other factors, including renovating public libraries and increasing the size of libraries, and also developing no-wall libraries, i.e. how to use IT to provide library services. And also we are opening community libraries with the NGOs. And I'm very happy to report to you that there are now 212 community libraries all over Hong Kong to provide library services. Now, as for the service hours in 2009, for the 33 district libraries and major libraries, we have extended the service hours to 71 hours per week, and they are open 7 days a week. We hope to enhance our services to members of the public. Now, as for promotion of literature in Hong Kong, we are working very hard with different bodies to promote that. And in the recent past, that there is this community ambassador readership program, and together with NGOs, we are promoting reading habits in Hong Kong. Now, as for the right pronunciation of words, I think this is something that we can work together with the relevant stakeholders. Yes, you're finished, right? Okay, next one, Mr. Fung-kwok.
Chairman, I have two questions. First, on the promotion of literary activities, want to know what is the situation of the Festival of Literature. That was a proposal I made when I was an urban councillor. I hope that there can be continuous development. What is the latest development of the literature festival? What has been the level of participation, and what is the mode of that modus operandi of that festival? The second question is on the trial book drop service. Now, you said that the service was generally supported by the public, and you would maintain the 3 MTR station, the drop-off service at those 3 MTR stations. Well, if it is generally supported by the public, then why you just limit the service to only 3 MTR stations? The 3 MTR stations were included in the trial scheme. But mind you, it is only a trial scheme, and since it has got general support from the public, why can't you extend it? Say, in Nam Chong Station, the usage rate was said to be low. Now, originally, Nam Chong was included because the West Rail terminated at Nam Chong. Now, the West Rail has been extended to Hong Ham. So why can't you put the service in, say, Tsim Sha Tsui East or Nam Cheong, or Hong Ham, rather? As for the design of the drop box, this design is similar to a recycling bin. People may not have noticed that it is a drop box. So why can't you improve the design so that it doesn't look like a recycling bin? Or a box for collecting free newspapers. Have you noticed that? Thank you. I thank Mr. Wong for his concern towards the literature festival, and if I may report to the member, in the first term, 6,000 participated. In the recent term, 140,000 people participated in the festival, the 9th festival. So the literature festival is getting more and more popularity among members of the public. As for the details, I'll just highlight one or two examples. We adopt a pluralistic approach. We want to attract people to appreciate literature and participate in discussion. Last year, there are specific exhibitions, seminars, guided reading seminar, and also Friends of the Literature Festival. We want to link up literature with life. In the Southern District, there were relics left behind by great writers, and therefore the Southern District has established a literature path or literature trail. They will continue to work on that, and would like to attract more people to participate in literary activities. Mr. Wong is equally concerned about the drop box or the book drop service. I will ask the director to explain that. Sorry, speaker is not coming through. Well, just a few points. The service itself is popular, but the usage rate is just 30% of the capacity. And through our interview, we know that people do know the service, but they still want to go back to the library to return the books because they also want to borrow the books again. So if we have the RFID system, then people can borrow and return books automatically or with the help of automatic process, and people may find it more convenient. So we therefore want to maintain the service in the 3 stations. But what about the design of the drop box? And your time is up. You have to wait for the second round. The Vice Chairman. Dr. Chan. The libraries play a very specific role. We can discuss it from a professional angle, say on planning, on collection, so on and so forth. But libraries are also a very important focus in the community. Now, in a private housing estate, even if they have a clubhouse for the people to read newspapers or read books, they are not so attractive as libraries. And also for people living in partitioned flats, which have no air conditioning, they prefer to go to the library in the summertime. I think the secretary is reading from her speaking notes, but I hope that the administration will look at the matter. In particular, the HKPLA PLAC will look at the matter from the perspective of the people. And some changes can be made to library service. Say in a community where there are more elderly people, and then in terms of collection, in terms of accessibility, in terms of provision of toilets, some changes may have to make some changes will have to be made to keep pace with the changing characteristics of the community. And suitable resources should also be provided. But of course, I don't want to see any overspending. Now, apart from the very general description in the paper, can you specifically tell us how your library service is meeting the needs of the community? Now, some of my students did some homework and visited and measured the accessibility of public libraries in Hong Kong. Now, I don't mention the library, but somebody complained. A potted plant, or rather a pot of flowers, a big pot of flowers, was put in the middle of the path for on a wheelchair path, and in a certain library, the tactile path was covered by a carpet. I thank Mr. Chan for his view. We have noticed the changes in respect of the demand for library facilities, and therefore we do have new designs for libraries. Perhaps the chairman of the PLAC will give you further explanation. Well, in fact, we are discussing those matters from time to time raised by members at our committee. Say on the size of libraries, on the facilities of libraries, on new concepts to be introduced. In fact, there are such things. Now, the size of a district library has been, or rather, a central library, the size has been increased to 6,900, and district library 2,900 square meters. As for Pingshan Library, I hope that you will come to visit us. It's a new idea. We make use of natural light, and you can see a lot of greeneries from the library. And there is a corner for a small discussion, and there is a corner for children to play. Of course, the more the libraries, the better. But Hong Kong is a small place, and if you want to increase the number of libraries within a short period of time, that may be difficult. First of all, we will have bigger new libraries. And as for existing libraries, we will renovate them. And we also made use of new technology. We have the next generation integrated library system. We also make use of RFID technology. These are new things. And we also have upgraded the MMIS, Multimedia Information System. I think the population standard for a library can also be discussed. But we need to consider the availability of sites and also availability of resources. And there are various ways to meet demands. For example, mobile libraries, community libraries. And we work with NGOs or other institutions to arrange bulk lending. Professor Leung, would you be brief, because we do have a time limit. The HKPLAC is cooperating closely with the library, the LCSD. Please take note that we do have a time limit and 5 minutes for questions and answers. I hope that the Bureau and the Department will give us supplementary information. Now, the PLAC has so many good ideas, and I think they will be able to address all those questions. Some members do want to ask questions. Some other members do want to ask questions, and they are Ms. Claudia Mo and Mr. Wu Chi-wai. So I need to keep the time more strictly. Mr. Tony Chair, please try to ask your questions precisely and concisely so that time can be left for officials to answer questions. Members have already spoken on the development of library service, and we hope that the policy can be forward-looking. We all know that the number of elderly has been rising, and the design and facilities in the libraries, the collections of the libraries should keep pace with this changing feature. As for electronic books, they are also very popular, and we all have smartphones. Shouldn't there be a policy so that people can borrow their books or can download their books instead of going to the library to borrow books? In 2009 and 2010, there were 140,000 items lent out had not been returned. So in terms of loss of books, in terms of books not returned, can there be any improvement to deal with that? As for the drop book service, since the usage rate of Nam Chong Station is low, will you consider relocating the box to another location? Or can you put the drop box outside the paid area? The Secretary. Concerning the facilities, as said by the chairman of the PLAC, the department is looking at the needs of the community and try to meet those needs accordingly. As for upgrading service to meet the elderly's needs, now we have a special design for the tables, for the reading tables, so that the elderly people can find reading more comfortable. Well, in terms of collections, we will listen to the advice on what books to order, and we also welcome the advice from the elderly. As for the use of smartphones and the use of broadband and also more use of electronic means, this is our concern, and we also pay attention to cost effectiveness of such service. Will provide better service and all-round service. In fact, you can order library books via the internet, and we'll give you more information.
About borrowing books, I would like to take this opportunity to urge the public that they would return books punctually. Now, as for the drop box, we have just completed a comprehensive review, and as what the director had said, and the utilization rate is only 1/3, and we would try to enhance the usage rate. Yes, director. About Namchang, we have actually looked into the situation, and it seems that the pedestrian flow is lower than what we expected, and we have looked at whether stations on the West Rail line can be considered. One is Meifu Station, but then Meifu Station is a relatively old station, and it's quite difficult to find or identify a place to place the book drop. We will continue looking into the issue. Now, as for Tsim Sha Tsui East, is quite actually in the middle of the town, so we would like to sort of spread out the three book drops around the territory. So that's why we want to find a location along the West Rail. Now, we are also constrained by the design. We have to look at the fire safety aspects, and we have to get the endorsement from the IFSD. So I think we would also enhance the publicity efforts. As for whether the drop box can be placed outside the paid area, I think it has to do with the MTRC's policy, and it doesn't want these facilities to be placed outside the paid areas. Now, next is myself. I have 3 questions. One is related to professional books. Has the government considered setting up a library, say for certain profession containing professional books? Now, in the West Kowloon district is now being developed. Would you be considering setting up a library there? Now, about popularizing the reading. Now, I visited mainland, and they have installed self-service borrowing facilities in airports, railway stations, and they provide 8 to 7 choices of services for the library users, and the services are very convenient. Has the administration considered doing something similar? Because we also have a very high density population in Hong Kong. Thirdly, the publishing industry has told me that they want Hong Kong to model after overseas experience. In that, the libraries would not be purchasing books from book merchants not on market prices, but rather higher prices, so that they can get a higher return. I mean, the book dealers. Would the government look into that? These are my 3 questions. Yes, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Ma, for your comments about themed libraries. And actually, in some libraries, there are certain themed places already. For example, in Sharton Library, there is a section on sports, dining, and so on. Now, as for whether there can be a themed collection or themed library in the West Kowloon Cultural District, I think we can convey your views to the WKCD authority. Now, as for self-service borrowing machines, we have really been looking into that, and that's why we have launched this pilot scheme to deploy the RFID. And if this technology succeeds, then we would be able to progress or make better arrangements with self-service borrowing services. Thirdly, about your concern about the the dealings with the book dealers. I think we can further look into that and see how Hong Kong can go along that track. Yes, Mr. Derek, Mrs. Fung, please supplement about self-service borrowing machine. We are now conducting a feasibility study on our FID and extend it to the whole library network. We are looking at the cost effectiveness of providing self-service borrowing machines. We actually went to Shenzhen to look at their self-service borrowing machine. Now in Shenzhen there are fewer libraries, so that's why they have come up with many self-service borrowing machines. But we have to look at the cost effectiveness of doing it in Hong Kong. I think the concept is very good and it provides great convenience to library users who don't have much time. But then the consultancy is now looking at the matter, and once we have completed the feasibility study, we can come back to this panel to report on our progress. Now, how about public lending rate? The existing policy is that all the books that we on the library are actually obtained from the book dealers free of charge. So I think that can help promote the books published by the publishers or dealers. It's just that only a few book publishers or authors want money from us when they provide us with their books. So I think this is something that we can take forward or discuss within the PLAC further. Yes, next one, Mr. Yu Si Wing. Thank you, Chairman. I've read through the paper, and I know that there are 10 mobile libraries. I think this is a good arrangement, but I want to know, in the past several years, what's the usage rate? What are the publicity efforts and usage rate and coverage, areas covered, and so on? If we find that these libraries are good, would the administration consider extending the service? Now, also with the aging population, the population in different districts or the population structure is changing all the time. So would the administration consider the changing its arrangements for libraries in various districts? Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your comment. As for mobile libraries, we have 10 vehicles altogether going to 18 districts all over Hong Kong, and working together with the 86 libraries to provide integrated library services. Now, so we try to complement or perfect the library network with these mobile libraries. We're looking at the different situation in various districts, and we plan to add 2 more mobile library vehicles, making up a total of 12 mobile library vehicles next year. What about the usage rate? Any changes? Well, there is different usage. Well, the usage rate differs from one sport to another, but on the whole, we see that it is very welcomed, and that's why we've planned to add 2 more mobile libraries. Can you provide me with more concrete figures? Yes, of course. We can give you some figures later on. Now, as for the overall planning of libraries, as what the chairman of PLAC said, as far as overall design, the space and so on of libraries, we have made enhancements. Generally, libraries, major libraries, it used to be planned with a size of 3,300 square meters. Now, the new standard is around 6,000 square meters. Now, I would like to invite members, if you have time, to visit the Pingshan Library, because it has adopted an enhanced or new design as far as library design is concerned. Any follow-up questions? Some members also raised the point about about aging population. I think the administration should give this point serious thoughts, because the aging population will bring different demands to library services. And I also raised the point about community needs for library services, and there may be different zonings in a certain district in the future. So would the administration be adjusting its library service based on the different zonings of various districts in the future? I'm not talking so much about the internal facilities of the libraries, but rather the overall distribution pattern of libraries. Now, on the overall distribution pattern of libraries, we have different levels of libraries based on needs, i.e. major, district, and small libraries. And what we are also pressing ahead with is partnering with community bodies to open community libraries. And they may be small in size, but they can be situated nearer to the community residents. And because the NGOs or the community bodies borrow books from us in batches, and then they take it back to their venues for lending out. So that is more flexible, and that may be able to cater better to the needs of the community residents. I would also like to talk about planning. Under present standards, there is one library for 200,000 people, but then we have also small libraries and mobile libraries. Small libraries play a complementary role. For example, in Sha-Tin, we have provided a sufficient number of major libraries and district libraries, and we are still planning for a small library in Taiwan because we see that there is a population cluster in Taiwan. So all in all, we are very flexible in planning for libraries. Okay, Mr. Yip Kin, you're next. Chairman, several years ago, I resigned from the post of a school principal, and I was a freelancer, sort of, and I was like a retiree at that time. So I was very interested in visiting libraries during those days. So I want to provide some opinions from the perspective of a user. One of the things which is very baffling for me is this. Now, say, for example, if an elderly person visits the library to read books or other periodicals, but then some libraries, like the one in Kowloon City, it is not open on Thursday. And also, if you want to go in the evening, oh, sorry, it is not open. It closes at 7 p.m. I once visited Singapore to take a look at the library system. In their central library or the district libraries or even the very libraries at the very grassroots, the opening hours are much, much longer. I just visited the website, and they start at 10 a.m. and last till 9 p.m. from Monday to Sunday, all week long. So I think their investment on enhancing the promoting of knowledge among its residents is really great. Now, for us, we close earlier on Saturdays. Now, for a working person, if he wants to visit the library after work, then it's difficult for him to do so. Now, that's so much for the opening hours.
The second point is on promotion strategy. Now, the elderly people are main users. We also hope that young people will use the libraries more often. And I don't know what the libraries are doing. In Singapore, the public libraries attach importance to cooperation with the schools. The libraries provide outreaching service to the schools. Now, they have statistics. The usage rate by primary students is very high. I don't know what is the situation in Hong Kong. In Kowloon City, I have found this problem. The majority of the citizens over there do not know that there is a library on top of a market. They have to find the library. People don't know. There is no signboard. There is no advertisement about that library. So I want to know, can the funding to the libraries be able to meet the demand of our people? So on opening hours, do you have any statistics? And what about funding? And also on local promotion. The Secretary, I thank Mr. Yip for giving us advice from the perspective of the user. As for our opening hours, in 2009, we reviewed the opening hours of our libraries, and we extended the opening hours of the major and district libraries, and they are open 7 days a week until 8 p.m. As for promotion, we agree that we should promote libraries further promote libraries in reading among secondary and primary schools. We cooperate with schools. We help the schools to run the literature days. We invite schools to bring their students to visit libraries. We have ambassador program so that students can be ambassadors to help us to promote reading. And also on the World Reading Day, we also have activities with the schools, and students are invited to write book reports and participate in reading competitions. As for statistics, the students are our major users, the biggest user group of our libraries. We'll continue to cooperate with different groups and institutions and the local community to promote our library service. Ms. Ho. Thank you, Chairman. I'm disappointed by this paper. Now, the title is called Development of Public Library Services. But in terms of RFID technology, in terms of Dropbox or book drop service, library service is not just development of library service is not just that. I think library is the hub of knowledge, and people should be encouraged to go to the library to seek knowledge, to do research. And I think the library, there should be a vision for our library service. And we want to discuss that, but unfortunately there is none in the paper. But suddenly there is a particular section on HKPLA as a knowledge hub, but there is a big gap between the first 14 paragraphs or 15 paragraphs and this particular section. Now, I've heard the comments on the Pingshan Library. That is the only example. But in some libraries, there aren't enough racks, or there aren't enough bookshelves. And books are being stacked after, and a row of books are stacked after another row of books on the shelf. People don't even know that after one row of books, there is another row of books behind the shelf. Another problem is copyright. Now we go to Amazon and we can buy some books free of charge. I just want to know how many books are available in the electronic network of the library. I know that many items can be read in the internet. Many library items can be read from the library network. Now, if we can deal with it, then why can't we deal with the copyright problem? anybody who have access to your library web will be able to have access to books and listen to music. And that, of course, involves a copyright issue. There is a need to prevent duplications or making copies, but that can be dealt with by technology. And if there is the electronic means, then what's the point of having a library card? What's the need of a library card? Why can't everybody borrow books without the library card? Now, as for promoting reading, promoting the pursuit of knowledge, do you or have you conducted a survey on how many books a Hong Kong person read per year? How do we compare with other places? And if we read more books per capita than other communities, then what kind of books are we reading? Are we just reading, say, recipes or other dummy books? And if our number per capita is lower than others, then how can we catch up? I thank Ms. Ho for the questions. We have a lot of work, and therefore we are not able to put everything in a short paper and share with Ms. Ho and other members. We mentioned the Ping Shan Library because it is the newest library, and we still have Lam Tin and Pak Tin coming on stream. And these new libraries will have a lot of additional elements which we have told you earlier. We will upgrade our library service accordingly. As for old libraries, we are aware of the inadequacies, and therefore we are renovating the old libraries. And by renovating them, we can enhance our service further. We will increase the size of the libraries. I have mentioned that, the chairman, PLAC, has mentioned that we are going to develop a library without walls, and that is to encourage reading on the web. We noticed that not everybody is well conversant with IT. And so there is still a strong demand for the books, the physical books. The lending turnover is about 8 books per capita. In comparison with Singapore, we are similar. The major categories are fictions, and the other category is for pursuit of further education. I hope that the paper can include more statistics in the appendix. And if we are aware of that, if we know that, then we may be more specific and answer our questions. Well, if 56 million books have been lent out, and then what about the readership or circulation? Some members want to have a second round. I want to give members some more time, so from now on, 4 minutes each. 3. They are Claudia Mo, Wu Chi Wai, and Starry Lee. Claudia Mo. Now, in my generation, we went to the library to study, but now it seems that students don't frequent the libraries. They can use their school libraries. They can also use the internet. The Education Bureau is talking about electronic books. In the future, the libraries will be the libraries of electronic books. How are you going to position yourself? Will you consider, say, half your collection in physical books, half your collection in electronic books. We know that elderly people do go to the library, read newspapers, enjoy air conditioning there. The second point is on your cooperation with the Hong Kong archive. Is there any timetable, or just that you just talking and not doing anything until the end of this term? I think Ms. Mo with a question. As for the development of electronic books, the issue has been discussed in many sectors. Say what sort of activities are conducted in physical venues and what sort of activities conducted via the internet. But anyways, we need a place to allow certain activities to take place. So the physical library will continue to exist. It has a role to play in the community, and therefore we've planned for new libraries. We'll continue to renovate old libraries so that our citizens can borrow books either can read books either via the internet or in our libraries. And we have no, as for the second question, we have no specific plans on cooperating with the Hong Kong archive. And Mr. Leung can also supplement, or Professor Leung can also supplement. I think not just these questions. I think members have made very valuable advice. In terms of development, we cannot do everything at one go. Say, for example, printed books and electronic books. We need to gauge the change in the pattern of our preference of our readers. We also need to consider copyright. We also need to consider technology. We cannot change everything. There are still a very keen demand for physical books, but we do discuss such matters. Mr. Wu Chiwai. Well, the paper is just a descriptive account. I was also an urban council member, and we discussed library service along two directions. One is digitization of the collections so that information can be readily available through electronic means. I hope that the HKPRAC and the libraries will consider how they do that. They should have a timetable. Say, in New York, the libraries are going to digitize all their collections and turn their collections into very important data banks. As for the role of the libraries, it is the custody of knowledge. People can go there and read books and learn. It's also a place for people to come together. When the community is aging, elderly people do gather there. We may need a small library where people can come together. And we also need a library which is knowledge intensive. And through the electronic network, we can do in-depth research in the library. Concerning the three-tier system, I hope you will make reference to the Urban Council days. We have small libraries, 30,000 to 50,000 as a planning standard. Is community-based. Your so-called community library, which is a collaboration with NGOs, cannot meet such needs.
As for district libraries, could they be built as themed libraries so that they play a different role from that of the small library? so that the collections among the different libraries will not duplicate too much. Now, if we look at the district libraries, the books are mainly for leisure reading. Now, if we bring some sort of character to different libraries, say if we can build the City Hall Library into a library of business books, say for other libraries, they are books, house books for cultural themes, and then perhaps we can best utilize our resources within the limited space. Now, a member raised the question about opening hours, and I think it has everything to do with money. I want to know whether the LCSD is getting sufficient financial support in the running of your libraries. Now, if you look at it from the cost effectiveness perspective, libraries are very cost-effective establishments. Take Fushan Library. As an example, the population there is around 30,000 people, and some 900 to 1,000 books are being borrowed every day, and there is an attendance of around 1,000 people every day. So you can see that the cost effectiveness is very high for these sort of libraries. So the Secretary, please think about the points I raised. Yes, we are just left with a little time. All right, perhaps you can give me a paper later on. Yes, and the last one, Ms. Story Lee. Well, I like going to libraries. I've used their services for a long time. Now, I have several observations. In paragraph 4 of your paper, it said that the library has over 4 million registered borrowers. And I think those who love going to libraries frequent libraries. And on top of these registered borrowers, I think you should encourage people to go to libraries. Now, I wonder whether you have any statistics on the breakdown of new borrowers or the number of stable borrowers. Do you have any objectives to increase the number of borrowers or users? I think you are you are doing a very good services in existing libraries, but you are not promoting library service in new districts. Now, I went on a fact-finding trip to Wuhan. And at the MTR stations in that city, they have machines, self-service borrowing machines, like soft drink vending machines for people to borrow books. And the machine stores around 30 to 40 titles, and there is information displayed on the book titles. So I think that sort of facility helps provide convenience to commuters in borrowing books. So you said that because of consideration of costs, you would not be thinking about providing self-service borrowing service in MTR stations. But then in Wuhan, they made use of MTR stations not only to allow people to return books, but also to borrow books as well. So I think you should come up with a very clear objective of attracting more library users. And you should not be satisfied with a certain number of stable borrowers. Now, as for the functions of a library, I admit that the functions have been enhanced. Say we have a toy library, we have a computer room in libraries, and so on. For old libraries, you said that there are many renovation projects, but then perhaps because of constraints in space, the old libraries are lagging far behind in facilities. From the new libraries, say for Kowloon City, the library facility in that library is far lagging behind in terms of the book volume and other facilities. And in all districts, the population is ever increasing too. But it seems that the service standards have remained at a level of that in the days when I was studying school. So can you look into that? And also, for planning, I think you are also lagging behind. When a certain population has moved in a new district, you are only prepared to provide a mobile library and not a permanent library. So when you are doing planning, please don't lag behind. Please make it timely so that there is a library there when the population moves into a new district. All right, the agenda. We've used more than 10 minutes than the prescribed time for this item, so I have to end the discussion of the agenda item. Mrs. Starley, yes, I know that I've used up all my time, so can you give me a paper later on? Yes, I said that the administration should provide a paper on the various information requested by members. Okay, let's end the discussion of this agenda item, and thank you the administration officials and the PLAC members for attending the meeting. Now, Mr. Wuchi-Wai, so please give us a reply on all the questions raised by members. Let's move on to agenda item 4. And that is measures to enhance museum services. The officials here today with us are Ms. Florence Ho, Undersecretary for Home Affairs, Mrs. Betty Fong, Director of Leisure and Cultural Services, and Dr. Louis Ng, Assistant Director of LCS, and Ms. Wong Yut-Hua, PAS for Home Affairs. First, I would like to ask the Undersecretary to walk us through the paper. Chairman, members, I'm very happy to be here with the LCSD colleagues to introduce to members measures to enhance public museum services. I believe that members have read through the paper. I'll highlight a few salient points. Most of the public museums are being managed by LCSD since 2010. LCSD has set 8 new directions for museum development to provide more innovative museum services. To enhance transparency, we have established 3 museum advisory panels for the art history and science streams. And these advisory bodies provide advice for various aspects, including strategies for business development and so on. The LCSD has also published its first 5-year corporate business plan for the public museums, and individual museums have also drawn up their annual plans to assess their own performance. Now, we have come up with business plans. In the past 2 years, the LCSD has hosted major blockbuster exhibitions and enhanced the image of its flagship museums and have attracted non-frequent museum goers. In 2012, we have recorded attendance of over 58 million, and we have sold over 130 million museum passes, and that is an over 60% increase in the number. So in 2011, now we have also enhanced our partnerships with different stakeholders, and through the community partnership scheme, we have also brought museum into the community, and LCSD has also embarked on a number of innovative promotion campaigns, including a one-stop multimedia service, and also launched My Culture mobile apps. And we have also made use of the Google platform to enhance our promotion. And we have also issued a museum dedicated for tourists. And we would also be enhancing our audience building efforts. And we would also be renewing exhibits on our permanent exhibitions on museums. And we also plan to establish a central repository. Now, apart from the All Street Exhibition Center at the Salisbury Road, we'll be establishing an art square for long-term plans. We would be also be establishing a new art cultural hall in the Hong Kong Museum of Arts. And we would also be devoting more efforts to support local artists. And I hope the members can give us your input so that we can improve our work. So we will be happy to take members' questions. I want to know how many members would like to speak. Mr. Fung-kwok, Mr. Christopher Chung, Mr. Frankie Yip, Mr. Fung-kwok, and Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Yu Si-wing. Ms. Sit-ho as well. Dr. Kenneth Chan. 8 altogether. So perhaps 4 minutes first each. Mr. Fung-kwok. Thank you, Chairman. I have 2 questions for the administration. Bruce Lee Museum is something yearned for by the Hong Kong public for a long time. And this is a very special aspiration of the Hong Kong community. Now, the site for Kowloon Tong was a no-go. And what is the follow-up work of the administration? Would you just give up on that point, or would the administration be following up on establishing a Bruce Lee museum? We want to know the latest progress. That's my first question. The second question is on Cantonese pop songs. They are sort of a collective memory of Hong Kong people. A lot of the composers and the singers like Anita Mui, Roman Tam, Leslie Zheng, their contributions have and the songs have been with us during the growth stage of many Hong Kong people. For these artists who have made such a great contribution, and they have been doing a great service in cohering the community. So would the administration consider building a museum or building up a collection of their history for appreciation by the public? Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your question about the Bruce Lee exhibition. Perhaps I would defer to the director to explain further our latest plan. Well, we appreciate the public's sentiments towards Mr. Lee, and we have a series of plans in the pipeline. Now, as for Cantonese pop songs, I'm glad that you raised this, because the one of our priorities is to preserve Cantonese cultural heritage. And earlier on, we staged an exhibition of Mr. Roman Tam, and that was we received overwhelming response on that. And in the days ahead, we would be organizing exhibitions of a similar kind in the future. As for Mr. Bruce Lee's exhibition, we're very happy that we have talked to Bruce Lee Foundation, and they said that they are happy to lend us the personal items or valuable items of Mr. Bruce Lee for our exhibition. That is going to be held at the Hong Kong Heritage Museum that is going to be held in July, and that is to be a long-term exhibition for 5 years. And in this themed exhibition, we would explore the life of Bruce Lee from his early childhood to his adult period, his martial arts skills, his personal philosophy, and so on. We would look at overall the life of Bruce Lee in every aspect. Now, we would promote that worldwide to tourists as well.
Can you tell us whether the Bruce Lee Museum, the one in Kowloon Tong, couldn't be done? What's the latest situation? Time is up. You have to wait for the second round if there is time. Chris Chung. Secretary said that many people visiting the museums. Can you tell us the actual numbers? Less the students. Now, under the new secondary school structure, the students have to go to the library. The students have to go to the museum. But how many people, other than the students, have visited the museums? I think the number is rather small. The second question is during the municipal council days, there was an arrangement for computerization or digitization of the collections. They don't have any copyright problems. Can you provide low-resolution images on the internet so that people can appreciate such items? Now, people can walk into the library at any time when the library open. But now, if you go to the website of the library, you have to be a registered reader first. But as for the museums, you don't even see anything, any collection of our museums on the internet. If one has seen a low-resolution image of the library collection, of the museum collection, then one may be attracted to go to the museums. And what about the film archive? I know that a lot of items have passed the copyright limit. So the copyright limit has already, copyright restriction has already expired. Why can't you put it on the internet so that people can enjoy them? In May, with Art Basel, which is a very important event of visual arts in the world. What is the museum responding to that? The curators, they will come to Hong Kong. The buyers come to Hong Kong, or buyers all over the world, buyers of artwork all over the world are coming to Hong Kong. And they may visit our libraries. Will you take the opportunity to promote visual arts, Hong Kong visual arts, and to promote our visual artists? Now, the Secretary said that the administration is cooperating with the community, but for 20 years, in the Eastern District, there has been no cooperation between the Eastern District Council and the Maritime Museum, or rather the Museum of Coastal Defense. As for number of visitors, we are happy that we hit a new record, 5.8 million visitors last year. And we've done some analysis on the visitors. Those between 8 to 19 accounted for 27% of the users, or 30% to put it roughly. We're glad to see that because we really want young people to visit our museums, and they are our continuous target, or they are the target of our continuous promotion efforts. As for digitalization of the collections and let people know more information about our museums. As we have said in the paper, we provide a lot of information on the museum website, and also to make use, and we've also made use of the apps, and we've also upgraded some items to the Google apps. And I hope Mr. Chong will visit them and give us advice. As for Art Basel, we are supporting the Art Basel in Hong Kong, and we know that they also have a lot of visual art activities outside the core, and some activities are based on local art. And we will grasp this opportunity to promote local visual art. Mr. Yik. Para 30. The administration will renew permanent exhibitions. I've noticed that you will do something on in 2015. As far as the Space Museum and the Science Museum are concerned, I brought my children to the two museums. They were fed up with these the old items. You should speed up the upgrading. As for the Museum of History and the Heritage Museum, there are some duplications of the exhibits. I know that in the past they were looked after by two different municipal councils, but now there aren't any more than municipal councils, and therefore such duplication should have been dealt with. Now, there are also a lot of problems. Say, for example, some collections have not been recorded, and there are also some missing links. I just want to know how you deal with these problems. I thank Mr. Yik for paying attention to our museums. As for upgrading the Space Museum and the Science Museum, we will look into that. Now, concerning the duplication of fishery exhibits, we will make some changes to another theme so that there will be less duplication. And since the review in 2006, we have already conducted a full stock taking of our collections, and we have done all the necessary follow-up. Chairman, if I may ask further questions. I've noted, I visited the Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor exhibition. A lot of new technology was used. I hope that similar technology can be employed. I've visited the CityU Multimedia Technology Center, and they have a lot of technology which can be used for the museums. I also visited the Fabergé exhibition. I was disappointed because you put in a lot of advertisement. The design was very good. I visited Russia. I found the exhibition over there was very good, but in Hong Kong that was just too small and too little. Well, we will put more emphasis on this. Apart from the first emperor, there is also another exhibition which we employed multimedia technology. From time to time, we will try to enhance the use of technology. As for balancing the exhibition with the advertisements, we really want to bring more valuable items into our exhibitions, and we try to do that. It's my turn. I have two questions. It said that another $50 million will be given to the LCSD to buy items from local artists. Now, M+ of the WKCD is coming, and there are many museums under the LCSD. Would there be any coordination among the various museums? What are the positioning of different museums? I'm a member of the board of the WKCD, and I look forward to a new policy on museum collections. I know that the government is working, but I'm still disappointed. Now, after clear positioning has been decided upon, as far as the museums are concerned, will you then do something in terms of coordination with the WKCD? The second question is on digitalization of collections. It's not just for public inspection. It's also to digitize valuable performances and productions by local artists as a collection for the record. This is being done by Taiwan. Now, there will be a central repository, but it will be for physical items. So apart from collecting physical items, will you, say, keep archives of digital items of the artworks, including, say, music and also images? And after you have a collection, you have an archive, then you may go further to make them available for public viewing, if you can solve the copyright issue. Thank you. As for the positioning of our collections, M+ of West Kowloon will base on 20th and 21st century world visual culture. As for our museums, we will base on local art and culture, in particular Lingnan culture, which has a strong link with Hong Kong, and also traditional culture. We will complement the M+, and there can be much room for cooperation. As for digitalization of museum collections, the director will speak on that. Digitalization is an important mission of our museums. The collections of the Museum of Arts will be digitalized gradually, and you don't need to register. You can have access to them. And in the Museum of History, we are also doing digitalization. As for performance arts, with limited resources, we need to set our priorities. We put emphasis on recording traditional cultural performances, which are declining. And we have digitalized the performance of the masters, in particular the aging masters, and we put them on the internet. Many valuable performances will be digitalized accordingly. Mr. Yu, I want to ask for some figures. Last year, 5.8 million visitors. I want to know the growth in the past 3 years. I also want to know the amount of resources invested in the past 3 years. I hope that there will be the investment is cost effective. If you just put in a lot of money with you are just buying the numbers. And also want to know the proportion of foreign visitors. Museums are tourist attractions. I want to know the participation by foreign visitors.
太。
In the report, there is much mentioned about promotion arrangements. Now, in Macau, say, for example, when we arrived at the pier, we see a lot of information on museums with detailed addresses and so on and so forth. And I think the Hong Kong is not doing enough in that regard. And the report is also silent about this point. I don't know in the past few years how much resources has the administration devoted into promotion, and are you on cooperating closely with the Hong Kong Tourism Board? Now, I mentioned that the attendance last year is 5.8 million, and 2011 it was 5.4 million attendances. In 2011, the attendance was 5.1 million, so the figures have been on the rise, and that's encouraging. And I'm happy that the members of the public have been supporting our work all along. Now, as for promotion, we have been working closely with the Hong Kong Tourism Board to provide our museum guide to tourists so that tourists can visit the museums. Now, as for the detailed figures, perhaps I'll defer to the director. Some figures. Since 2011, when the museums came under the purview of LCSD, we have increased substantially the resources for museums now, because we have so many blockbuster exhibitions. The spending increases on average by over 10% in the last few years each year. And the Jockey Club sponsors on average 3 major exhibitions every year, and that helps a lot. Now, as for tourists, the Museum of Teaware and also the Hong Museum of Arts, around 30% of tourists visited these museums. Now, for district museums, they are frequented by children mostly, and families. Now, we hope that the museum will be built into part of the itinerary of tourists, and we would be working closely with the Hong Kong tourism authorities on that. Now, we would leverage on the Bruce Lee exhibition this year, and we hope to attract tourists through this exhibition. Now, Mr. Yu, all right, can you give us the detailed figures? The figures that you provided are rather rushed. It seems that you have increased the resources by over 10%, but then the number of visitors has increased by only less than 10%. Now, Ms. Sit Ho, I am glad that you asked about digitalization. I just searched through the internet, and it's not very browser friendly. And that I found this section, collections. And then you have to fill in all sorts of information like venues, places, descriptions, and period, and so on. Now, say, if I want to visit the Sun Yat-sen Museum, perhaps you can just, when I visit the website, you can pop up with, you can provide me with an image. Now, I went into this particular site on a specific section, and the pages popped up so quickly that I couldn't follow. Now, could you make an arrangement, say, if we missed a certain exhibition, we could still sort of visit it on the website, and you can arrange for functions like enlarging the images and so on. We said that the FS has not been allocating new budget for new initiatives, but I hope that the administration and the museum advisory panel would work hard to strive for extra financial resources because this is something that's worth our investment, and we will try to fight for the spending together with you. Now, when we look at this paper, is a much an improved paper, and if you are hindered by resources, then I would ask the question, how much is lacking in terms of financial resources? I really want you to devote more efforts into virtual visits, providing good virtual visits on the website, on your website. Now, as for the restoration of collections in museums, and we see we came across figures of large numbers of collections being stored rather badly in the museums. And if we manage to solicit big collections donations from the community, say, for example, very well embroidered garments being collected from the public, we should have good conditions to store these items in terms of providing appropriate temperature, humidity, and so on. I think it has to do also with money. So can the administration tell me ideally how much money do you need? And then we will fight for the money for you together from the FS. Now, as for intangible cultural heritage, say for the masters in the Cantonese operas, all their items, all their legacies should be well protected and preserved. But then we don't see anything on your website. And it's not very browser-friendly. Perhaps you've done a lot to store the information on the website, but it's just that perhaps you are not arranging the website in a browser-friendly manner. So it seems it's such a waste. Well, thank you, Ms. Ho, for your very valuable comments about digitalization and virtual visits on the website. And this is something that is also one of our key directions. I'll thank members for your questions. We would try to improve the interface and the website access. Now, as for preservation and restoration of collections in museums, we have a dedicated team, and I'm happy to tell members that it's one of the best teams in Asia. And actually, we will be holding an international exhibition or an international convention on restoration of museum items in Hong Kong. Now, as for intangible cultural heritage items, about Cantonese opera items, or actually Cantonese opera items are a key item in our efforts to preserve intangible cultural heritage safeguarding. But then for reasons like problems in copyright, we might not be able to preserve them in a timely fashion, but we would try our best, do our utmost. Sorry, you've run over time. Yes, Dr. Kenneth Chan, Vice Chairman. Yes, I will allow my time for Ms. Sit Ho and for the Undersecretary reply. Now, we are about to get the resources to renew our website. If you visit the museum.gov.hk, then it's a much better improved website. But then it has to be linked to the main websites of the various museums. So that we will work on very soon. Now, we would do it in a way as what we've done in the Google Art platform. So, Dr. Kenneth Chan, next. Please continue. Museums are an important public resources. I spoke at the United Nations about civic education. We should know as civic citizens museums in Hong Kong. This is a very special day. This is a World Water Day. Well, you may not know about it. And this is also a very special year and is a particular year for the cooperation of water resources around the world. Now, Hong Kong is an important player in the world arena, and we have to protect our water resources. and we are worried about our water quality. So I'm very interested to know what Hong Kong has done in on such important subjects. And it seems that we are not doing anything. Nothing happens in Hong Kong, especially on this Water Supplies Day. And I searched through the website. And there is this series of seminars in April on water in one of the museums. So I want to point out several problems because we're talking about improvements to public museum services. Now, I just want to cite just an example. When we design our programs, shouldn't we be looking at how to enhance people's sense of civic responsibility? Say, for example, because this is a World Water Day and cooperation on water resources, can we do something on that particular theme today? Thank you, Dr. Chan, for your comments on issues of international concern. That are something that we'll be very interested to work on, say the Water Supplies Day, World Water Day that you mentioned, that we can work on in our Science Museum in the future. All right, we'll take heed of your opinions on that. Well, it seems that I just accidentally found out that this is a World Water Day, and I found out that there is a series of seminar on sort of water resources. But apart from that, what other things are you embarking on that theme? I wanted to point out that it's not true. It's not the case that the government doesn't have resources. It's a matter of better coordination among government departments so that the public can enjoy activities with themes such as what I have mentioned. Actually, about water resources, there has been much discussion around the world over the past few years, and we've invited experts to discuss that topic over the past few years. And in fact, Hong Kong faces great challenges in water supply, and as for how to further discussions on the topic in the academic field, we'll be happy to work on that as well. Now, people have raised or advocated for activities on different themes of world concern, and this is something that we are working on. We actually have mapped out a number of themes, worldwide themes, for activities in the next few years. I can provide information to members for your reference later on. And we can also provide information on themes that we have undertaken on our activities in the past few years. Now, before we draw the line, there are two other members. And actually, the time is up now. I would like to extend the meeting for another 15 minutes. Is that all right? Okay, the next, Mr. Lam Tai Fai, 4 minutes again. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the CPPC meeting in Beijing. I have strong feelings, and the state leaders said that we should embark on the road of national revival, and the mainland government and the Hong Kong government emphasized that we should integrate with the mainland, not only in the field of economy, but also other areas like science and so on and so forth. Now, it's been 15 years since the handover. It's not a long period. And Hong Kong people are not well versed in a number of issues on the mainland. And now we all know that Hong Kong history of China is not a compulsory subject in the schools these days. And a lot of Hong Kong people don't know about the history of China. And it's difficult to organize trips to the mainland frequently. So what can we do? I think we can do that through exhibitions on the history of China. China is such a vast country, and say for people in ethnic minorities, say those in Xinjiang, they are not like the mainstream Chinese people, and it's a must for our Hong Kong young people to understand China and what's happening in China.
Now you have 12 history museums. They are rather local, say Lijiang Oak, Sam Tung Oak. The only museum related to Chinese history is the Sun Yat-sen Museum, or maybe you can include the Heritage Museum. But in the museums, say for example in Henan, they have a provincial museum. That was a grand one. Is it not the time for Hong Kong to have a museum which can be a sister museum with the mainland, so that there will be ample supply of exhibits? Say this year we team up with Henan, the other year we can team up with Shanxi, so on and so forth. So we can just provide the venue and then we can get the exhibits from them. Now we had an exhibition on ethnic minorities, on the costumes of ethnic minorities. I got those exhibits, or rather they got those exhibits from mainland, and there are a lot of costumes and exhibition and accessories of the ethnic minorities. And that was a very popular exhibition. Shouldn't we adopt such a soft approach so that local people know more about the mainland? The Secretary. I thank Mr. Lam for his concern towards the museum and also the role of museums in history, history education. And the history of museum is playing a very important role in history education. And China has a history of more than 5,000 years, and we are actively promoting the knowledge of that. Now we have the Mesopotamian exhibition, an exhibition on Mesopotamia, and we are going to organize exhibitions in our museums about the Han Dynasty and other dynasties. My question is whether there can be a new museum which is specifically for understanding the national situation. In fact, the history of museum is working on that, and we can have thematic exhibitions on history education. Ms. Yip, I want to ask a question on funding. It is about investment in knowledge. It is not in the realm of formal education, but it is a very important element in informal education. In terms of public funds, or in terms of funding, are the museums constrained? We will support you seeking more resources. That's the first point. As for the second point, I cannot speak from a user angle, but because I seldom visited museums, I want to visit museums very much, but I don't have the time. I talk to young people, they say that even if they have the time, they don't visit museums. A young person told me that he or she visited an exhibition in a museum. It was on animation, on Doraemon, and also on another animation hero. And can you make the museum more attractive to young people through various means, for example, animation? As users, can they be involved? Now, that is the Museum Advisory Panel. In the panel are there representatives of the young people, so that the content as well as the style of exhibition are more attractive to young people. It seems that museums in Hong Kong are more visual-oriented, but there can be different approaches. So I just hope that you can make your museums more attractive to young people. I thank Mr. Yip for the question on funding. We will, from time to time, go back to the panel and to seek support for funding. We will come back to you on an amount of $50 million for the purchase of items from local artists. As for animation exhibition, it was organized or curated by the Art Center, and in the future there will be a base for animation in WKCD. As for involving young people, we really want more young people visiting our museums. Apart from adopting new approaches in our curating and using more multimedia technology, we also want to involve young people as docents. And when they learn to be docents, they know more about the operation of the museums and also the contents of the exhibitions, or the content of the exhibitions. In terms of curating, we do work with outside curators through a pluralistic approach. We want to attract more young people to visit our exhibitions. Water resources was mentioned, but a few years ago there was an exhibition on food. Apart from looking at the exhibits, you can also enjoy your museum visit by smell and also by taste. And in fact, that's a rather attractive exhibition. And I hope Mr. Yip will visit our museums more often. Are there young representatives in the museum panel? Yes, there are. 2 members want to have a second round, and they are Fung-kwok and myself, and also Chris Chung. Anybody else? We still have a little time left. Let us complete everything within 2 minutes, questions and answers. Now concerning the Fung-kwok, the Bruce Lee Museum. Is there any development in terms of the location in Kowloon Tong? Will the administration pursue that? The LCSD is collaborating with the Tourism Commission on the Bruce Lee exhibition. As for the museum itself, I think it is something under the purview of the Tourism Commission and the Economic Development Bureau. I think the administration should be shaking the responsibility. The HAB is responsible for museums. Therefore, I want to ask the Undersecretary, what is the position of the administration with regard to talking to the relevant unit? The progress is not so good as expected. We also know that people are expecting an exhibition with the theme of Bruce Lee. and therefore we hope that people can know more about Mr. Bruce Lee through that exhibition. Mr. Chairman, of course I support that exhibition, but the exhibition itself cannot be used to dodge the issue of setting up a Bruce Lee museum. Mr. Pang is willing to donate the premises, but in the negotiation there may be some problems. I hope the administration will pursue the matter to the end. Now you finish your time. It's my turn now. I want to follow up on museum collections, in particular in relation to WKCD. Now, this is a very important museum. There is a very important museum on contemporary art. I hope that there can be a policy on collection. I hope that the museum has the duty to keep the fullest collection of local artists. It should have the best collection of local artists. And on this, and of course, after that, on top of that, it may build up a collection of artists from other parts of the world. As the first batch, the core collection should be on local artists. I hope there can be a collection policy. I don't know whether the administration has any response to that. As said by Ms. Ma, they've bought the first collection, and they will continue to look at the long-term collection policy in respect of its positioning in relation to the 20th and 21st century contemporary art. We will continue to strengthen local art through the Museum of Art. I hope there can be a collection policy for M+ as soon as possible.
M+嘅館藏政策一到而家都未有。
There is no collection policy for M+ at present. Yes, we know that. Yes, there will be an overall policy on collection, how to deal with collection, and operation, so on and so forth. Chris Chung. My question is on collections or items in the collections that have no copyright or the copyright has expired. Can you put them on the internet? Even if you put something on the internet, there are problems with the search engine or search function. If people just punch in keywords, then they will have access to that. For example, I want to look at the blue and white ceramics of the Qing dynasty. If you want to see that, then you will have to go over pages after pages before you get to the item you want to see. You get to the one you want to see. So at present, the arrangement is just for leisure viewing. I hope you can improve your search functions. Thank you, Mr. Chung. Many members are concerned about the use of digital technology and try to make it more user-friendly. We'll do that. As for Art Basel and Film Archive, the director will speak on that. On digitalization, like Mr. Chung, we want to put all these valuable images on the internet, including films. It takes time, and that is also the copyright issue, in particular in relation to films. Now, when people donate their films, they only allow the film to be shown in the film archive itself, film archive building itself. As for Art Basel, there will be an exhibition on contemporary art, and in Oil Street in May, there will be an exhibition. Well, we have to stop here. AOB. Anything on AOB? If not, then meeting adjourned.
多謝大家。